Hello everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 418. And today we're going to be talking about the Stooping Hawk. Yes, the 55-ton clan Omni-mech. That's kind of well, it's interesting. It does a little bit of primitiveness to make it more of a durable and less gun-ho type of Omni. Now, the Stooping Hawk, 55 tons. It is a 585 or a 580, depending on which version that you're running with. But the prime version is a 585. We have 10 double heat sinks that comes with it on the engine. We have 9 tons of ferrofibrous armor for 172 points, which is fairly decent. If you added another half ton, because it has 21.5 tons of Omni space, pod space available. So if they just taken like a half more ton, you could have got up to 100 and I think 283 with the Ferro, which would almost max it out. Which I'm kind of curious why they didn't go that route and just left it with 21 tons of pod space. But you know, 172 is pretty decent. Now, with the prime, let me bring the prime up here. We have, like I said, it's a 585. Oh, it does have Indo steel. Comes in at 2147 for battle value. All right. Now, the prime weapon is the Ultra AC-10 in the right torso, and I think it comes with 3 tons of ammunition. Plenty of ammo. So roughly you can double pump that thing for 15 turns. More than enough. All right. Then we have ER medium laser in the right arm with the medium pulse laser in the right arm. And the left arm we have an ER medium laser and a medium pulse laser. All right. So we have 2 ER medium lasers, 2 medium pulse lasers, and an AC-10 Ultra with 10 double heat sinks, which means this thing can get pretty hot. All right, so you're looking at 18, 24 heat if you alpha strike this thing once you get into 12. And you can dissipate 20, so on the first turn you're up by 4 without even moving. You'd be up at 26. If you run and if you jump, well, yeah, that's getting pretty hot, I have to tell you. So, not good at all. So, yeah, you don't want to do that. So, basically, you got to figure out most likely if you're jumping, I probably won't fire the 2 medium lasers, ERs, because obviously you want to fire the pulse lasers, just the fact that, you know, they get the -2. And the Ultra Cannon, well, that's your hard-hitting weapon system. Even though I'm not a big fan of putting autocannons on medium mechs or even lights, but at 55, it's that point. You reach that at the 50-55 range is when it's like, okay, I can see putting an autocannon on a mech of that size. So it's like, oh, okay, it's on there. They designed it with it. Just go with the flow. So, yeah, not bad. Now, the interesting thing is that being a 585, it is on the edge of being too slow. It's like, personally, if I'm taking a 55-ton mech, like I'm looking at the Stormcrow, it's like, yeah, that's my favorite 55-tonner. And the clan lineup, now if I was going to look at Inner Sphere, it's probably a Wolverine. You know, I'm looking at, hey, Mr. Wolverine, without the autocannon, but with the large laser. And if you can get the version where you got double heat sinks and all that, and you can really kick that thing out pretty nicely. But at 55 tons, it can bang out some good amount of damage. You just look at it, it's like there's 48 points of damage this thing can dish out. Yeah. So it's one of those mechs that you're looking at it and going, okay, I can see this fighting on the front line, running around with the heavies, and maybe even as a bodyguard for an assault mech that's running around at 5'8" or a 4 or a 6 move or 3-5 movement. You know, you got somebody like you're kind of keeping up with them, maybe slightly faster, and able to guide their flanks a little bit better. Now, if you're throwing it into a medium star or light star where you got mechs that are 7-11s or 8s, you know, it's like, yeah, it's going to get slightly outperformed for speed, but it does carry a decent amount of firepower to keep things slightly at bay, especially the lights. This thing can tear up a light mech pretty quickly, you know, if they allowed themselves to get close enough to be hit pretty hard. So, yeah, I just look at this thing. It's like your maximum range of this thing is only 18. The sweet spot is roughly the 8. You know, you get into that 8-12 range, then this thing can really start dishing out some good amount of damage. And, you know, they're not going to like you very much, you know, just to be honest. You get into that medium range, you're going to tear things up pretty decently, especially if you have a 3-gunner or like a 3-4 pilot on board. Yeah, it'll do pretty decently. So that's how I envision using this version of the Stooping Hawk, is that, yeah, it's going to be a decent bodyguard, even running around with even battle armor, you know, on board, yeah. The only problem is that, you know, you look at the big issue if you're running battle armor with it, you know, obviously you can't be using your torsos. So that just puts your autocannon out of commission for a while. So you're now delved into being, if you're going to be a battle taxi, you're looking at close engagement type of, you know, it's like where does battle armor usually work pretty decent? It's congested spaces. So, yeah, you run in there, deliver your pill packages, and then it's like now your autocannon's freed up to bang away. Otherwise, you're running around with everything in your arms. So your best weapon is those 2-yard medium lasers. So, yeah, pretty decent in that case. So get your packages out there, deliver them, and then say, hey, here comes the rest of the mail. All right, so not bad. I like the Stooping Hawk. Now, let's see, Stooping Hawk was it the Clan Blood Spirit? And I can see them using, you know, it doesn't have XL engines on board, so that makes it pretty decently, because you can sort of stick around in the battle a little bit longer, because if you lose a torso, even lose 2 torsos, and if it's not dead, well, I guess if you lost both torsos, you're still fine. You're not losing any engines. So you can get this mech off the battlefield. You know, that is one decent thing. So salvage-wise, having a standard mech like this that is still an Omni, there's benefits with that, because if you're running campaigns, yeah, your con would be, thank you for bringing back the equipment, bring back the metal, we get it fixed. Now, the next one in line, which is the Stooping Hawk A, this is an interesting one. It has 2 ER PPCs, one in the right torso, one in the left torso. Now, I find it interesting. It's a 5.85, so it still has the same amount of movement. Comes in at 2319 for your battle value, and it has, what, 17? Yeah, 17 double heat sinks. So it can dissipate more heat. It's like you're creating 30 heat. If you run, that's 32. I probably would have gone with 16 heat sinks and then added like an ER medium laser to one of the arms to allow it to, because if you're doing it because it's an Omni, and if you're going to use it as a battle taxi, you can't do anything with this mech until you drop your packages. So I would have liked to have had something, at least in one of the arms, to be able to shoot with. Because if you come up on something and it's like, okay, guys, get the heck off. I got to use the guns, or else you're going to find yourself being blasted out the front side. So, yeah, that makes it kind of interesting. So once you get, if you're not carrying any battle armor, obviously this thing sitting out there banging away at the 2 ERPPCs, you're going to do some severe amount of damage to somebody with those 15 point hits. Yeah, you only got 2 of them, so the max of damage you're going to do is 30. But yeah, they're good for stripping armor. So if you're running around in a star, obviously this is going to be the first one I'm going to, it's like if we're going to focus on this mech, I'm going to fire this one first and try to rip off large chunks of armor off a mech. And then move on to the next one with the next best weapon systems. So yeah, you just go right down the line, and the guy at the next one in line, the last one in line, that might have all the small pepper type of weapon systems like LRMs or SRMs or LBXs of that nature. They're the ones I usually go last with, so they have the best shot at getting crits, crit hunting. Hey, then we can tear you to pieces. Yeah, you may not totally kill the mech, but the crits may do the job for you. So that's their whole job. So now, one thing when I was looking at this one, I was like, you know what? What if, this is like with what if, taking one of those ERPPCs and swapping out for a large pulse laser. So your heat output is 25 instead of 30. And then drop 3 heat sinks and put a targeting computer on board. Or instead of a targeting computer, you didn't want to go that route, 3 heat sinks for 3 ER medium lasers. So when you're getting close, you can fire, still, do some things, but, it's like your heat output is roughly, you may not want to use the ERPPC and just swap it out for 3 ER medium lasers, and then your damage output will then go up. So you're still using the pulse laser, and then have 3 ER medium lasers. Something I was looking at this one that was like, that might be an option too. It is an Omni, so if you have access to building your own, that would be something I would have thought about too. Because it's like something to increase the damage output. And yes, a 7-pointer can do the job of being a crit hunter. It's like you still got something that takes off a larger swath, and you got something that has a better shot of hitting your target in that route. So there you go. Okay, so that was the A. Then we can move on to the B. Now this one, okay, the B is a 5.80. Doesn't have jump jets, all right? It comes in at 2111 for battle value. You have 10 double heat sinks, but you have an ER large laser in the head. Alrighty. And then you have 3 LRM-15s, one in the right arm, one in the right torso, one in the left torso, with Artemis, fire and control, and I think it was 4 tons of ammo with this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. All right. This one's kind of a nice one. I like this one because your damage output, it's like you're not going to be firing the ER large. Most likely you're going to be firing the LRM-15s. So you got a potential up to 45 for damage. Most likely, my experience is going to be 9 on an average would be your damage output with that, because typically I'm going to say 912 would be your damage output, because you got Artemis. It's going to be slightly moved up the scale, because the average roll is going to be 6, 7, and 8. So that's what I'm thinking is going to be 9s, 12. So the damage output's pretty decent. And then you're going to be looking at blocks of 5. So this is going to be kind of your crit hunter mech. Because like you look at it, if you work in conjunction with other ones that are ripping off armor, this guy is going to be hanging back. He's going to be the one that fires last. And, you know, he's going to do some damage stripping on the armor, but he also has a good shot at, more shots of getting crits. So, you know, that's kind of like how I envision this one. And obviously, you got the ER large. That goes up to 25, so you may be looking at firing it, let's say the ER large for a period of time before you can get the LRMs into range or a decent firing solution. Because I'm more than happy. It's like, oh, I need 12s. Okay, I'm just going to fire the ER large and not waste the ammo type of deal. You know, go that route. Then when you get into medium range with all the weapon systems, then obviously I'm going to go with the best firing solution, which is probably going to be all the LRMs. You know, because that produces 15 heat, and the most you're going to do is 17 due to the fact that it's, if you run. So this is a good, the mech runs fairly decently cool, and your damage output could be fairly decent. And then obviously if you're at the end of 12, was it 12? You get 10, 11, maybe 12 turns with a fire out of this thing. Then you're just left with what's in the head, which is that ER large laser. So it isn't gonna, it still has one tooth left. So there's that. I could see where someone might have considered dropping the ER large in favor of 3 ER medium lasers and a targeting computer. That'd be an option too, go that route. So when you're done with the LRMs, then you got something backing it up with some decent firepower still. You know, go that route. All right, then we move on to the C. This one, yeah, to be honest, this one has been used before. This one is a 585. It comes in a battle value of 2435 for the C version. We got 17 double heat sinks. And then we have an ER large in the head. We have an ER large in the center torso. So you got 2 weapon systems that go out to 25 that are, be honest, it's very hard to take out any weapons that are parked in the head or the center torso. Most likely, if you take out the weapon in the center torso, a lot of times the mech is on its last leg or it is dead, you know, by the time you get to that point. So, then we have an ER medium laser in the right torso, an ER medium laser in the left arm, and then a targeting computer to go with everything. So you got 10 tons of weapons and 2 tons towards a targeting computer. So everything has a good shot of hitting. All right, so that's the nice thing about this mech, which I've liked and used before. So it's a nice little sniper type of mech that's running around on the flanks. And it does have the mobility to get in, get out, get over obstacles. The big problem is the heat, but it's really not a big problem because your 2 weapon systems that you're primarily going to be firing are the 2 ER larges, and throwing in a ER medium into the mix. And if you're jumping, yeah, you're looking at, that's 34, and then heck, you know, what can you dissipate? 34. So there you go. Now, if you're running, that's 24, 34. You can do 2 turns of running and firing everything before you have to shut some stuff down and cool off. Because I do not like running my mechs past 4. I can run. I don't mind running up to the 4 threshold, but when I get to that 4, I'm like, okay, I'm going to not shoot something because I need to cool off. And that's how I always play. I don't like pushing the threshold. Now, if I got triple strength my armor on board, well, that's a different story. Obviously, then you're going to be running at the 9 and keeping it at that threshold all the time. But you got to design that mech to stay at that threshold and don't go up any more or any down, because you want to keep that heat going. And it's typically a specialty style mech where you might probably have a melee weapon that you want to go up there and just chop somebody up in little bits. But this one's a pretty decent mech. Usually you're running with this one unless you have to jump. And that's really not an overly big issue, because then if you do jump, you can easily mitigate any heat just by not firing one of the weapons. So we're still running around the 2 ER larges. You're staying into that. Be honest, you want to get this mech into the 15 range. So you're not getting out there too far, but if you're at 15, you still got that 1 ER medium laser, or maybe 2 that you're just kind of throwing out there. But the other ones are going to be at medium range, and you got the targeting computer to help dissipate some of your movement modifiers. And most likely you're typically hitting a lot better. So that's one thing I like about the C. It's kind of a nice little design. The D is not a fan of. This comes in at 1834. It's kind of a bargain for battle value. It's a 580, no jump jets. You got 22 heat sinks. And there's a reason why it has 22 heat sinks. So you can dissipate 44. Because you got an ER large in the head still. And you have 3 heavy medium lasers in the right arm. You got 2 ER medium lasers in the left arm and ER small in the left arm. This thing has a lot of heat. So you're looking at 40 with the ER large and the 3 medium laser. There's 40 heat right there. And you dissipate 44. So if you run, that's 42. You can throw the small laser in at close range without having to heat up. But when you do get in range, it's like, okay, I can't fire the ER large. I'm now going to have to fire the 3 heavy lasers, 2 ER medium lasers, and the small if you're within 6. So basically, this mech is sort of relegated to trying to get the bigger weapons in close, and that's 9 or less. But if you stay at 10 to 15 range, you got the ER large and 2 ER medium lasers, and that is 22. So you're running extra cool. So there's that. So you're really over-synced until you get into within 9. So, yeah. So, but if you get within 9, then you're throwing the heavy medium lasers and the 2 ER medium lasers. And that suddenly becomes your primary weapon systems. To try to, and then if you're running, you can do that for 2 turns, because you're not going to be firing the ER large, even though your heavy heading weapon systems are wrapped up in 4 weapons. So it's one of those things. Not a big fan of heavy weapons, medium lasers, or even heavy larges without a targeting computer to offset those things, because you're already, if you run, you're at a minus, that's 3. You know, it's like you got a 3 mod already. It's like just, yeah, it's like being hot, you know, and then moving up the heat scale. And if you get yourself into the 8 heat range, suddenly you got a 4 mod against you. This one, if you're not really balancing your heat very well, yeah, you can cook this thing, and then next thing you know, you're not hitting the broadside of a barn. All right, then we move on to the E. This is the 580, comes in at 1674. It's kind of the bargain, really the bargain value. You got 10 double heat sinks on board, and really that's not overly a big issue, because you got an LBX 10 in the right torso. You have 2 ER medium lasers in the right arm, and you got 2 ATMs in the left arm and an ATM 3. These are all ATM 3s in the left torso. So you got 3 of those things. And they're going to be producing 6 heat, 16, 18, and if you run, 20. So the heat is not a problem. With the LBX, you got 2 tons of ammunition. You got solid and 1 cluster. So most likely, this is like I was discussing before. If you got a mech out there that's ripping armor off, This is another mech that I'm going to be running last for the firing solution. Now for ammunition, you have 3 tons for the ATM. You got this extended range, you got the standard, and the HE. So you have the 1-pointers, the 2-pointers, and the 3-pointers. So it is possible to do a bit of a bit of damage with this thing, with those ATMs. And with the ATMs, you got something that shoots out to 27, to 15, and to 9, depending on which ammo you're going to be using. So it can sit out there and plink away with them 3-pointers, and not really much with 3-pointers. You look at, it's either 1, 2, or 3, most likely. Most odds are going to be 2. But it's something to keep them occupied. And it's just plinky weapons. Now, when you get into 18, then you can throw in the LBX. Depending on the target, if you're looking at it, it's like, all right, if you are kind of by yourself and you're most likely going to be using the solid shot, doing the 10-pointers, just because you want to take some armor off. But if they already got a bunch of armor off and they got some holes, yeah, it's like flip over to the clustering munition and just bang away and just go crit hunting. And it's the same way with the, if you're just stuck at 18, obviously you're going to run probably the standard range still. That's going to be moved into medium range. Your odds of getting a few plinky shots out of those too. So roughly, you're just looking at plinking. And it's kind of a hole filler, this mech is. Doesn't put a lot of damage on the table until it gets in close. And then that's when you start using the high explosive. And if you, by chance, hit with the 3 high explosive shots and you get all 3, that's not too bad. Then you can do some damage, take some armor off, but it is what it is. So, yeah, 1, 2, or 3. It's like you get 9. That's a chunk of change. What, 27 possible? Yeah, they're gonna know you. So getting close with this thing is where most of the damage is being dished out. And when you're up close like that, obviously, probably going to be the target's going to be tore up pretty decently. Yeah, probably dishing out some cluster. But by that time, eventually, this is a mech that can stay in the battle for 20 turns. Or actually even up to 60 turns. Because depending on the ammo type you got or using, you're probably never going to run out of some type of ATM ammo. So you're always going to have something that's going around. And you got the 20 shots with the cluster, and the solid shot with the LBX. All right, so then we're moving on to the F. It's a 588. Yes, this one has the improved jump jets on board, so they get a little spendy with the tonnage with the improved jump jets. But, it's a 588, so it's got some decent distance. Comes in at 1988 for the battle value. It has 12 double heat sinks, so it dissipates 24. This thing has a heavy small laser which in the head, which is like, that's just like an afterthought. It's like a small laser inner sphere, does 6 damage. It's like an afterthought type of thing. It does possible damage. It has 2 streak 4s in the center torso. And you got, let's see, 1 ton of ammunition to go with it. So really, you got 12, 13 shots with that thing if they both lock on. And they probably will not. Most likely, the one will only a lot of times. So you're going to have a lot of turns with those things. And then you got 2 medium pulse lasers in the right arm, and then 2 heavy medium lasers in the left arm. So you got 14 plus 8 is 22. Then you got the 2 streaks, which puts you up at 28. And if you jump, I say approved jump jets, I think it's only half, isn't it? If I'm thinking correctly. So your heat output could be throwing you up to around 32. So yeah, you'll be up can't even say 8 on the heat scale, just like that. If you fire those things, if you get in close. Now the one thing is, you have maximum range with this thing is 12. Your longest range weapon systems are the pulse lasers and the streaks. So this thing is a dedicated city fighter. You know, this wants to get in close and knife fighting range. So if you do get into knife fighting range, yeah, you really have to really think about how you're going to use this mech, because you could cook this thing really quickly, and then you're just relying on the jump jets to get you around, which is okay because you can jump 8. So that's the good thing about this mech. So you can get yourself out of trouble and cool off. So it's one of those mechs where you can jump into somebody, get on their 6, or into one of the flanks that may be opened up. This would be a really cool mech if you had jumping jack with it. So if you got into their flanks that have open shots in their armor, go into that angle, or in the back, hammer them really hard, try to alpha strike, and then get the heck out of dodge to cool off, because you're going to be fried. So you're going to be kind of worthless for the next turn. So that's one thing I would look at using this mech. It's kind of like, think of it as a 55-ton spider, you know, or a Venom that doesn't have really long range. He's got a couple medium lasers. In this case, it's got a few more fangs with a little bit of venom in it to do some damage. That's kind of like how I envision using this thing. Jump in, shoot, and get the heck out, cool off, jump, you know, like every other turn type of deal. Or if you want to balance it just with the streaks and the medium pulse lasers, doing damage with those, and then jumping, you know, getting around and keeping yourself cool. And then when you really get that alpha strike urge, then you get in there with the 2 heavy medium lasers to do some more damage. Well, that's it. And you got Stooping Hawk G. Okay. This one's a 5.80, 1657. This is a little farther down the line. You got 12 double heat sinks. You got 2 Proto-Mech AC4s in the right torso. You got a Proto-Mech AC4 in the left torso. So you got 3 of those things. Heat output on those is only 1 each. Not much. So there's 3. And then you got 4 ER medium lasers, 2 in each arm. So your heat right there is 20, 23. If you run as 25. And you can dissipate 24. So you can fire everything for 4 turns before you start wondering what you're going to do for cooling off. Now, everything shoots out to 15. So it's kind of a balanced mech for your range output. The Proto-Mech AC4s, yeah, they do 4 damage each. So it's kind of a plinky weapon system. So everything's the 5, 10, 15 for your range output. So yeah, it's one of those mechs where you can keep running around just banging away, and all suddenly on the 5th turn you're like, okay, I'm not going to be firing like an ER medium laser, drop off 5 heat, and then cool off. Then go right back at it again. Now, the ammo on board, you got 40 shots with those things. So rough, that's pretty decent. You're looking at, what, 13 turns? Shooting every turn? So not bad. Why not keep rocking it and then go at that? But otherwise, I don't think... Yeah, if you're trying to shoehorn a mech into your lineup, it's like, okay, I got 1,700 extra battle value. Yeah, you might want to throw this one into the mix, and then throw in some battle armor too to fill out the mix. You know, carry along. You know, because you're just losing 12 damage, and you can bang away with the 4 ER medium lasers and run and not worry about heat. And then when you drop off your packages, hey, and then you throw in the Protomech AC4s. So that's one way to envision using this guy as a mech. But overall, not a bad mech for what it can do. I look at it as a decent battle taxi. If you want to throw some battle armor into the game, you know, it's like, hey, throw one little point of elementals and then take them into battle with you, and then drop them off, and then just go to work. You know, go that route. So the only one that might be an issue, I gotta look again, is, yeah, the is it the LRM version? Yeah, they're all in the right. Everything's in the right and left torso for your LRMs. You got one in the arm, so, and the head. So you're good that way. So yeah, that would be. You still have some firepower while you're delivering this thing. So yeah, that's kind of like I envision using the Stooping Hawk. It's kind of a big brother shepherd for elementals, or a running around with some slower heavies or assaults. It really will get out class and out distance if you're running with some faster mediums or lights. Or you can just throw it in with some second line mechs. Ooh, the thought of that, running with, I was like, ooh, it's like I've been to disgrace, so I'm stuck running around with these guys. All right, it is what it is. All right, so that's the Stooping Hawk. Hope you guys like it. So like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcrakes out.